I'm Lee Spencer with the Racing Boys, and I'm here with Kevin Thomas Jr. Look pretty sporty, just missing a little something to pull off the W. What do you have to do to make that work for you?
Well, we got a new package. We got a new shock package here, so we're still trying some things there and just figuring out what the car needs, and because it is a little bit different. And Austin and Mike are doing a great job. The car was really good last night. We have to do a few things to detune the engine when it gets really slick like that. We're just lacking a little bit off the corner, just a lot of wheel spin. So there's a few things that we didn't get aggressive enough on last night, but it's majority my fault for not explaining those things to them. So I think we got a good race car, and we got one capable of winning. We just got to make a few small little changes. I think that'll help out the whole race.
There's been a lot of weather this year that has kept you guys on the sidelines when you had wanted to be racing. How has that affected the momentum of just trying to get 2019 rolling to where you're comfortable? You came so close to win the championship last year. Is it just aggravating not to be able to get that mojo going?
It is frustrating, especially since we have been trying something new. We know we need as many races as we can get under our belt, and weather just seems to not be cooperating. And once again tonight we got another chance of rain, so it's a little irritating. And we just want to get on a roll here, but it seems like every time we race one time, we get rained out for 2 more weeks. So it's hard to just figure this car out. And whenever you race once a month, that's not the way to do it. By the time we know it's going to be June, we're going to race 10 times. So it kind of sucks, but we're going to figure it out. And the guys are working hard, and we're making gains on it. We're running really strong. Have we been dominant like we have been in the past? No, but we're still. I mean, we finished on the podium, I think, like 5 times or something. So it's not like we're slow. We're just not spectacularly fast like we are sometimes. And we're gonna work on that, and hopefully tonight's a little bit different.
Questions came at the wrong time for you at Tri-City on Friday night, man. You had such a dominant lead, and then it was like, boom. Nothing of your making, but, at that point, are you just a sitting duck out front?
Yeah, you are. The track last night was very unique. You can run so many different lines, and not necessarily the line that you think you should run to be fast. The slider line was the biggest advantage. You just take all the lanes away, and it was so slick off exit that you couldn't really even cross anybody under. So you can run kind of a line that didn't really make any sense and still be fast. So it's whenever you're restarting like that, you're running the same line, and you feel no pressure, and then you go do the same thing again, and the guy slides you, and they just figured out another way around the racetrack that you didn't even know. So it's frustrating. It seems every time we do get in the lead anywhere we are, there's a caution at the wrong time. So we just got to get those bugs worked out and just get a little bit better. So they're working hard on it, and I can't say enough about those guys. I'm not the easiest person to work with in the world, and everybody knows that. So I expect certain things, and when they necessarily don't go as planned, I get a little frustrated. So they're figuring it out, and they're all working hard. So we'll get there. It's just we just got to race more than once a month.
I know you're probably not a big hockey guy, having grown up down south, but I almost got a sense of how you felt the other night when my St. Louis Blues got spanked for a bad call, and it went the other team's direction. And they basically said in their post-race interviews, you got to put that game behind you and roll on. Same thing kind of happened with you with Sunshine last year, and you had to take the high road. There's nothing you can do once the officials make up their, it doesn't do any good to bitch and moan, because what's done is done. You move on. How do you beat Sunshine this year? Because it really looks like that's where your competition could come from.
Well, with racing, you got to have a very short memory. It's just like anything else that you do in sports. It's just like baseball or whatever. You strike out the next time, you got to still walk up to the plate and expect to hit a home run, and you don't every time. But this they work as hard as anybody I've ever been with. So we're right there in the hunt, and honestly, it sounds bad, but it takes mistakes from those other people. You know, I had some bad breaks last year, and you know, I got landed on by a guy flipping whenever I was running third. You know, I made one mistake at Putnamville. You know, I left 60 points out on the line, and as great of a year as they had, our consistency, I think, is what gets us there. And we're kind of in the same boat this year. You know, Sunshine's like 60 points back, so you know, they're fast, but they got to keep all their nights together, and you know, that's what I think we do the best. You know, we may not be the most spectacular. I'm not as wild as what I used to be, so you know, I'll run third a lot, but you know, my intensity level whenever I start doing that gets higher and higher, and then we start winning races. So you know, not winning races almost fuels me a little bit more, and we're just working. You know, it's race cars are not easy. You know, if it was, you know, everybody and their brother would be doing it. So these guys have professional jobs, and this is what they do, and this is what I do. So this is our job to figure it out, and they're doing a good job. And you know, we're really not as fast as what we should be, and we're still contending for wins. So once we do get it figured out, I mean, it's game on now.
For dirt car novices, can you describe what the difference is like driving your sprint car, which has, what, 950 horsepower in it, and then jumping in a sprint car, which is around, I think, 450?
I mean, it is a little bit different. You know, you drive you drive a sprint car, you know, somewhat when the track, say, like last night, gets real slick up to the fence. You drive one with a little bit of caution. You know, the sprint car, you got to be careful because you'll wipe out, and you saw that last night. You know, Brady and Sunshine and, you know, a few people, they just smashed the fence. And
Brady was like Jason in Friday the 13th, where he just kept coming back.
Yeah, and it's crazy, and it'll bite you, you know. And then in a midget, you can be a little bit more aggressive. They're more forgiving, and you know, they bounce a little bit. But if you get a good shock package underneath you, get a good race car, you know, you go right through those holes, and just because it is a little bit lighter of a race car. So, and then there's times that the holes are more aggressive for the midgets. So it's just a fine line there. And whenever you're bouncing back and forth in between each car, you know, in a single night like we did last night, it's we've done it for so long that it's not that difficult. But for somebody that, you know, doesn't know and just watching from the stands, you know, the driving styles are quite a bit different. And you know, you to hit the bottom in a midget, you more or less charge the corner, and in a sprint car, you know, you pretty much got to be more patient, hit your marks, because you got so much horsepower to just spin the wheels. So it's just a little bit different driving, and but that's our jobs. We got to compensate for that. So if we can't do that, then we shouldn't be getting paid to do what we do.
You look like you were digging the low line, though, on Friday night. I mean, is that, do you prefer running up there, or was that just you really felt that's where you had speed?
It just depended. You know, they went out and worked the track, and we felt pretty good. The top around this place gets a little crummy, and by crummy I mean the dirt is real thin and it dries out fast, so it's more or less dust. And until that gets cleaned off and it's all blown off in a decent surface, that line's really not that fast. And in 1 and 2, it never really got to that point. And you know, which is a little frustrating, because I would rather keep my momentum up and run the top. And it's just a little bit easier of a line for me to run, and because I'm not great on the bottom. But
took a lot of patience for you to hang out down there, didn't it?
Yeah, and last night in the midget, we had a part fall off that was pretty detrimental to our setup. So you know, it didn't help us any. We had a good race car. It's just you know, things happen. Midgets vibrate so much. You got to really stay on top of things, because they'll just vibrate the bolts out of them. So we had a little parts malfunction, but you know, and then in the sprint car, you know, it's just, you didn't really know where to run there. You know, people are sliding each other, running the fence, running the bottom.
I think there were like 30 of them out there, weren't there?
Yeah, there was. You know, you get Isaac Chappell around there, come from 15th to 5th. You know, idling around the tires, and you got Wyndham and Carson up there just bombing each other, really not losing any ground. And I'm running a different line, and it was real tricky. It was a lot of car last night, and for the driver to be able to be tech savvy, you know, being able to be technical and not smash the fence where it upsets the race car. So it was a weird place last night. And Granite City's usually not like that. It's usually really smooth, and it had some character to it last night.
I got to ask you about Granger. Saw him come on board with you on the midget at Chili Bowl, and here they are. You got the red and black all over the equipment here, and your race car. How how important is it to have the support of a company like that when you're trying to compete against whether it's Keith Coons, on the midget side or with the Clausen Marshall sprint cars? How do you how could you do it without them?
Well, first and foremost, we appreciate the support of Granger and their people. It's a great combo for the fans in the stands, because a lot of them, deal with those types of corporations on a daily basis. They're all hardworking people, and that's what Granger supports. So, and on the racing side of things, having the funds to be able to do those things. You got Toyota over there on the Keith Coons side, which is a big part of motorsports, is the engines. They call it motorsports for a reason. And if you don't have good engines, you're more than likely not going to win that many races, if any at all. So whenever it comes down to the money side of things, that's a big deal. Whether it's travel, the smallest things like blowing a tire out on a trailer, you got to have nice trailer, nice truck, nice race cars, and because if you're not doing it, somebody else will. And you got the Clausen Marshall team with the support of NOS, and if you're not out there hunting and searching for these big time sponsors, and which we're fortunate enough that those people are coming on board to short track racing, and they're finally seeing what we're capable of and how exciting this sport is. It just makes it tough. It makes it tough for the working guy, and but I've been in the working guy position before, and you just never quit, because if we all just quit, then none of these people actually come on board. If we all give up. So the more people that work hard for these situations, the more it's going to come to our sport. It started out, quite a while ago with people bringing corporate sponsors in there, and wing cars really do a good job of it, and now the non-wing and the midget side, half the time you see DeWalt and Craftsman and things like that on the side of Keith Coons' car, and that just brings a lot of awareness to our sport that is needed. And whenever you can do that and get the attention that this sport needs, I think it's got a lot of room to grow, and there's a lot of talent in this field. And from midgets, sprint cars, wing cars, even down to late models and modifieds, there's so much talent across America whenever it comes to short track dirt racing. It's just, I hate to say this, but I feel like NASCAR just misses the boat, and IndyCar as well. That there's so many talented drivers out there, and not even, speaking for myself, there's thousands of me or a Sunshine or a Chris Wyndham or anybody like that they're just missing it. And I think if you can bring the awareness to the sport, they'll finally see it.
Well, they got a big TV package this year with Flow Racing as well, and I think that you're going to get more eyeballs now on your series than ever before. And even at a track the size of here, and I think this is 3/8 of a mile, and the stands, there's a few thousand people in the stands. The eyeballs of the people at home, whether it's in the U.S. or internationally, we've got a huge, following overseas. That's a lot of love for the sponsors.
It really is, and a lot of these people are they're not only nationwide, but they're worldwide. And whenever you can show them that the support that they give to whichever team or whichever series is seen across the world, not only just the few thousand fans that are at each racetrack, that doesn't really add up to what they're shooting for. It's the numbers on the TV and things like that. There's a reason why people put Super Bowl commercials on. It's because everybody in the entire world sees it, and that's just the name of the game with this thing. It's TV exposure, it's the social media exposure, social media is a big part of everything that we do now, and I'm not even that big of a social media guy, but it does work. You see people. One of my best people that I like to use as an example is Chad Baseflew. He does a lot with a little, but he promotes himself. He's probably one of the best out there at it. And whenever you can do that and just get the exposure that you yourself need or your sponsors need, and the things to keep people happy and to keep the sport growing, that's the name of the game. So everybody needs to keep it up and keep working hard at it. And I think the sport will go a long ways.
Kyle Larson gave me a hard time because he'd get me the availability over on the NASCAR side, and it's like, oh man, where are you going to race next? Where are you going to get the sprint car out? Where are you going to get the midget out? And lo and behold, here it is, an off weekend for Xfinity, and Christopher Bell is running around in the pits. It's like, doesn't matter, large, small, whatever. It draws fans, and even drivers who have time off. It's they're just drawn to the grassroots, and you guys have got to be doing something right here.
Yeah, I think so. And it's like a poison, or a drug. It's something, once you experience it for so long, that there's nothing that really lives up to it. And me and my wife have talked sometimes. She goes, "What if you get hurt? What would you do? Like, would you get a job or whatever?" And I said, "I would probably work as hard as I could to be a crew chief or something inside of racing." It's not. I love driving, but if the day ever comes where I can't drive, I still want to be involved with it. And it's the same way. If say, like you said, Christopher Bell's here, and he's not even racing. He's just here watching and helping out the guys. I saw him pushing midgets around on the four-wheeler, and it's just something that we love. And whenever you can have that love for a sport and you can get new people involved in it, that really says a lot for what we're doing. And, like I said earlier, it just has so much room to grow. And, the people that are making it to NASCAR, like the Larsons and the Bells and Stenhouses and people like that, it has helped grow sprint car and midget racing tremendously. And because that's all they talk about. They only talk about Chili Bowl or anything. You could ask them, you excited to go to Pocono? I was like, well, I'm excited to go to maybe like Williams Grove. It's just little things like that, and not docking NASCAR or IndyCar or anything, but it's just what we grew up doing. And you like to do things that really get your blood pumping. And whenever you have a sport like that, it's just something that you like. And whenever you have an off weekend, you just want to stay in it and in tune with the sport, because it's a raw sport, and it's more of an extreme sport than, I guess, a motorsport at sometimes. And you get attitudes, you get beating and banging, and nobody really says anything. Nobody's out there with Twitter wars. You either handle it at the racetrack or you don't, and you handle it like men and go about your day. So it's something that we love to do, and I just hope that other people see that and they love to come to the races also.
Well, I certainly think that it's still growing. I mean, you've got your loyalists, but it is still growing. And if you want horsepower, you're not going to get in a cup car anymore now that they're down to 550. You're going to get it here with the sprint cars, and it's you guys put on a hell of a show, and I appreciate your time.
Yep, I appreciate it, and hopefully this brings a little bit of awareness to the sport, and hopefully it can just get bigger and bigger. Thank you.
Thank you.